My name is Ryan Roekle. I am a first-year master's thesis student here at UWM School of Freshwater Science, working in the lab of Drs. Cool and Dr. Aguilar. The dredging project that is proposed to go forward in the Milwaukee's Outer Harbor, Inner Harbor, and the lower Milwaukee, Kinnickinnic, and Menominee rivers is planned to remove over 1 million or so cubic yards of contaminated sediment from the local waters in Milwaukee. These sediments are loaded with what are called legacy pollutants. These are pollutants that have settled into the sediment over decades or so and have stayed there. These include things like PCBs, mercury, other heavy metals, and such. Things that are very bad for the health of the river and harbor ecosystem, as well as the health of anyone who comes into contact with the sediments. And so it's in our best interest to remove that sediment from the rivers if possible, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to dredge it, to physically dig it up and put it somewhere else. Our lab is interested in this dredging project due in part to our long-term project of long-term water quality monitoring in Milwaukee local waters and inshore Lake Michigan waters, but also due to an ongoing project that we've been performing on a small inland lake in southeast Wisconsin that has also undergone a recent dredging project of a much smaller scale, but enough to have noticeable chemical effects on the water itself, not only from nutrients and various chemicals released from the sediment during the dredging disturbance itself, but more interestingly from the dewatering of the dredged material, which was placed on site and was allowed to drain back into the water, contributing to a harmful algal bloom in the waters. This is something we're trying to avoid if possible in Milwaukee because the proposed management site for the dredged material lies right on the outer harbor, which as is already susceptible to algal blooms, and we are concerned with the possibility of further algal blooms, further harmful algal blooms at worst. And then we're also interested in the fate of any of the legacy pollutants or sedimented nutrients released from the process of the dredging itself on the downstream waters. So this project necessitates an expansion on our already existing regular sampling trips out on Lake Michigan on our research boat, the RV Niske. These trips usually consist of collecting water samples from sites of interest, as well as sediment samples and benthic organism collection, mostly mussels off of the lake bed. The main difference moving forward is that we're going to be putting a more heavy focus on sediment collection from areas that are to be dredged in the upcoming years, so that we can first gather a preliminary data set on the chemistry of the sediments before the dredging, to be followed up by samplings during the process and immediately following the process. The dredging project that's been proposed in Milwaukee is a necessary step to addressing the Milwaukee estuary's status as a Great Lakes area of concern. And we are in full support of the dredging. These contaminated sediments must be removed. We hope that by studying the effects of the dredging, we can potentially intervene before anything might go wrong.